Hey crafty friends, it is back to school season and this is the first year that I actually have photos to scrapbook. So these are preschool photos and that's what I'm going to be tackling today. So whether you are documenting your child's senior year, maybe you're going back and documenting after school is done with you, I want to share a really fun idea with you. So you may have seen that Stampin' Up! Did an album retreat, so a scrapbook album retreat back in July. With the kit for that event, you got 12 layouts that were all pre-cut for you and bagged up in these bags marked with what project they are. And I don't know about you, but it is really nice to have your papers pre-cut for you, ready to go, and you get to just focus on putting it together and doing the fun stamping and embellishing and things like that. So I'm going to use these kits for my daughter's school album. And what I thought would be a good idea is using at least one of the summer months for her preschool year, and then I can use the other months of the year for documenting the rest of kindergarten. To me, I'm thinking like the first year of school and the last year of school are kind of the ones that I really want to heavily document. Of course, I'll know better once I get into it, but that was just kind of my initial thoughts and what originally prompted me to get the album retreat bundle. It is actually still available and you can go back and rewatch all the classes, see how to do all the interactive elements. Lots of the pages or several of the pages have interactive elements, lots of like stamping techniques and things like that, as well as some exclusive stamp sets. These didn't come in the cases. I had some empty cases that I put in, but you get the insert and then also you get the stamp sets that go inside. And you can see there's just a really big variety of shapes and titles, really great things for kind of everyday documenting, a cute alphabet and numbers, and just some really usable shapes. So I'm sure some of these will probably make it into my project today. I will be switching things up and probably adding some things from my stash. That's just kind of how I roll. I went ahead and put all my photos onto the photo placeholders. So my photos are cut down by 1/4 of an inch just so I can have that nice white border. This kit does come with a couple of photo mats and all the photo placeholders that you need. Of course, I'm going to add some extra photos, so I had to add in my own white mats for those. And I'm also switching up the photo sizes a little bit. I just think it's nice to make your pages work for you. And if what is originally designed isn't exactly the perfect thing, then it's okay to move things around, switch things up until you get it the way you want it. Now, I have way more photos than this. I basically took photos a few times through the year as well as on our first day of preschool. We did preschool at home this year and we had so much fun learning together, doing all the simple stuff like learning to write her name and learning the months and the days of the week and numbers, letter sounds, all that kind of like intro to reading sort of stuff, blending letters together and starting like early reading. And of course, tons of art projects. So I have all these extra photos that I want to put in, and I'm going to add flip-flops. I debated doing 2 layouts because I do have July and August that I'm not going to use for her kindergarten year. So I'm not sure what I'll do with the extra layout. I can always use it elsewhere in my scrapbooking. It doesn't have to go into this album. Or I might find an event along the way where I have tons to say, or I want like a specific layout just for that one event. Now in the actual kit, they give you this paperboard set of titles. And so each month, here if you can see there, it's all like die cut out there, laser cut out. And there is a nice big title for each of the months because the concept behind this album retreat was a month by month album. So you'd have one double page spread for every month of the year and you could do a year in review. Now I know lots of people are doing other things such as like their kids' senior year. Some people are just skipping the monthly titles and using the layouts in their albums for whatever the colors and designs work for, whether it's like a trip album or everyday life. Some people are just picking a random year and documenting the whole year. I've seen a huge variety of different things that people are doing. And I just think it's so fun to have that jumpstart on your layouts where everything is cut out for you. You can watch the videos and work through it at your own pace. And there's also die cuts. So if you've ever made any of the Stampin' Up! Scrapbooking workshops, then you're familiar with how this works. These are die cut paper pieces that you can only find in the kits, and they just pop out of the paper quite easily. I just like to go slowly to make sure I don't rip anything because it's just standard paper thickness. It's not super thick paper. And this is going to be the frame that I use on this side. If you notice the shine we have going on here, this is actually a resist paper, so I'm definitely going to add some ink onto this to make that resist pop. This was originally supposed to be the August layout, and so definitely like outdoorsy, summer kind of theme to it. So there we have that. And then we have our two little frames here, little photo mats. I have to decide which one I want on which side, but just to get a general idea. And then there's a whole bunch of circles, and you can see they all just pop out here. Some of them have patterns on them, faux stitching, some are just plain. I cut a title on my Cricut. I didn't do print and cut, this is just cut and layered. And so I typed out my title. I used Sign Painter, which is a system font on my Mac. And then I did an offset in white. So it's just black and white will go with everything. I do have a few things that are black on this layout, and some of the stamping on here is going to be black as well. So I figured that would tie in well. Now I'll have to kind of look at the picture to see where all these circles are going. I know some are supposed to be over on this side as well to kind of stretch across. I'm debating if I want to maybe make this circle a little bit smaller, and that way I could have more of the colored strips showing. I just don't want to cover up all the paper. But I was also debating using these for some journaling. So this is from the Just a Note set. In the bundle, you get not just the stamp, but you also get the die. And I thought this is perfect for any kind of school layouts. You got that notebook edge on this little piece that makes the journaling spots. And then you have all these different paper clips, different styles of clips, arrows, star. You've got paper clips down here, little arrows. So lots of things that are perfect for a school layout. And I was thinking of maybe just having my journaling cascade down here. I did this on another layout recently where I put these together and I just journaled down the whole thing. Actually, I think I had them a little bit more overlapping, but I just journaled from one to the next and kept it going. And I thought this would be fun. I could maybe ink blend behind it, or I could even die cut some paper. I really like how this notebook edge looks when I layer it with another piece, maybe cut from pattern paper. The kit also comes with all of these laser cut pieces that match the stamps. So there's no dies that coordinate, but there is a ton of pieces that have been cut for us in the kit. Look at all those flowers and hearts and circles, and those all match stamps from this set to make it even easier to pull this together. Felt like I was missing some more circles. I pulled out another sheet of the die cuts. When you flip them over, you can see on the back what projects they go to. This makes things super simple. This is project 8 that I'm working on, so now I know I need to pull out the rest of these circles. Now, something else that was meant for this layout are these numbers 1 through 5. The journaling on the original layout had like 5 different points. I'm not sure if I'm going to use those, but I will keep that in mind that I have those that I can add to my page if I think it will fit in. Okay, a few things changed since I turned off my camera. I was just laying out all my circles and then I started playing. I went and got out that notebook die again, and I pulled out an old close to my heart pack. This is called Smarty Pants. It's the only school themed anything that I have really. And I cut up a couple of these patterns with that die and just used them like little layers, just bringing in a little bit more of that school feel. I am going to add another embellishment or two over top of this, just kind of make this a bigger cluster right here. In the original layout, I believe they had clouds up here. I'll actually post a picture on screen of what the original inspiration layout looks like, and then you can see the differences. I also cut a little piece over here just to kind of stretch that over to this side of the page because it was looking kind of empty over here. I did take out the numbers like I had mentioned, and I'm not sure if I want to use them. These are from the punch outs that go with the kit. If I'd want to just use like 1, 2, 3, because I think to fit 5 over here would be a squeeze. But it would definitely go along with the theme. I could add some white pen highlights to like make them pop out a little bit more. I did bring numbers over here. I went back into Cricut because I wanted to add the school year. I think that is something that I will put on my introduction to kindergarten as well. I thought it'd be fun to have it in more like of a typical school kind of font. And so that is Super Clarendon font. I think that's probably one I have downloaded to my computer, but those are just floating there. They're not stuck down or anything yet, but I think that's kind of how I want them. I like how this is looking. Definitely going to add some kind of school themed embellishments. And now I'm going to do some stamping. So I'm going to stamp on all of these. This one is actually patterned with a grid, but the rest are cardstock. So I'm going to stamp on those to add some pattern, as well as on some of the circles. So usually at this point, when I'm going to deconstruct something, what I like to do is take a picture of what I have, and then I can always look back and reference that when I'm reassembling everything. Okay, I'm ready to start stamping. I've brought in my Darling Duckling ink, and then I'm just looking through the stamps to see what I want to add. I do have the sample page up for reference, and they used this little shape here, which actually on the finished layout looks like a plus sign, which would work perfectly. But I think what I'm going to do is bring in a star. So let's go ahead and grab the star. There's 3 different stars, 3 different sizes, which is really nice. But I think for simplicity, I'm going to keep it with just 1. And then I always like to test stamp my images. And as I stamp these stars, I'm just going to keep rotating and stamping off the edge. Whenever you're stamping a random pattern, you always want to stamp off the edge because it gives the appearance of it being like a regular pattern paper. Okay, so there is what my finished strip looks like. This will lighten a bit as it dries. The ink is always darker when it's first stamped, so always keep that in mind when you're stamping. Now, there is also a pattern that is stamped along like a border on this one. So I think I might just follow that. And then they left the oranges completely plain, which I think makes sense because it's mostly going to be covered. There's just going to be little bits of orange peeking out in between my photos. And so I don't think I really need to go ahead and stamp that. Okay, and then we will just start off the edge and work our way along. I'm using the edge of the paper to help me line this up. I'm trying to keep the same amount of distance. I'm just looking down through my stamp to try and keep it as straight as I can. Okay, and there is our finished border. Erin from Crafty Concepts with Erin has made all of her pages, and she shared them in a huge share video on her channel. You might want to go and check that out. I will leave it linked down below if you haven't seen that already. But she did the same thing where she put the border along the bottom, and I love how that looks because it adds extra weight to the bottom of the page along with this dark color. And I just like how that balances things out. Now, if you want to see all the layouts and how she tweaked them in her style, I definitely recommend watching that video. It'll also give you a good idea of what all comes in the whole kit because I'm just making mine one by one. Okay, let's go on to the circles that are getting stamped. This one over here is getting a small star. I'm not going to share the whole process with you guys because it's going to be the same kind of repeating thing over and over again. But when I'm doing an all over pattern for these circles, it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to start on one end And then I will just work my way over, filling in gaps as I go, offsetting so that they look a little bit more random. I think the most important thing is that you always stamp off and keep rotating your image so that you get a little bit different variation as you go. All right, I have stamped up all my circles here. We got bigger stars, little stars, splatter. I did bring in these stamps which coordinate with that paper that I showed you from Close to My Heart. It's called Smarty Pants. And I think I want to use a couple of these as embellishments for my page. So I thought I would bring it in. I did use the little A+ here and here. And then the rest of these patterns are all from the little stamps that come in the Album Retreat kit. And just did tone on tone stamping. The orange is Pumpkin Pie. The yellow is Darling Duckling, and then the blue is Lost Lagoon, and then black as well. And I'm just going to push these off to the side, and we are going to ink blend our piece right here. And I'm thinking what I want to do is maybe start out with orange and then blend into yellow. So I'm going to start with Pumpkin Pie, and then this is a resist paper. So everywhere where the resist is, it's going to stay white, but we will need to wipe it off afterwards with a tissue or a paper towel or a rag or something. Now I want to keep an eye on exactly where this is going so that I maybe don't go right up to the edge, but I don't want to leave that white piece on there because I'm very worried that I'm going to get ink on it. And I could cut a piece on my Cricut to replace it, but I'd rather not have to. All right, I'd say that's almost far enough. Now I'm going to bring in the yellow. I'm taking quite a bit of the yellow off as I go because I'm really trying to avoid getting too much on there. Of course, it all depends on what kind of effect you want, how bold you want your bursts to be. You could really layer it on thickly and get like a very bold color, or you can go a little bit softer like how I've done it so far. The thing is, you can always add more ink, but you can't take it away. So I like to start slow and just get a feeling for how it's coming. You might want to go back over the colors and just add more of both of the colors. Okay, now I have a piece of paper towel here, and I'm just going to go ahead and rub any ink that's on the resist. I'm going to rub that off. We'll see how easily it comes off, if I need to wet it at all, or if it will just come right off. You don't want to leave that ink on there because it will come off on like your fingers and stuff as you're working away because it can't really dry on this slick surface. I'm going to just give a little mist to my paper towel, and I'm going to see if that will pick up more ink. I don't want to get my paper like super wet, but I think it will help just lift off. Yeah, it's lifting off definitely more ink being a little damp. I wouldn't want to use like a baby wipe or something that's like soaking wet, but I do want to get those stripes brighter white so that the resist is more prominent. All right, there we go. Now you can see that beautiful resist even better because it's brighter white. Got a little carried away and got some of my ink right here wet, but I think that's okay. It's probably gonna be covered by my photo, so it's not an issue for me. Okay, I was getting ready to put this on, and I think I want to ink my edges. So what I'm gonna do is just go around the edges right on the edge with an ink blending tool, and that way I can help the different colors and patterns pop a little bit. I'll just take my ink blending tool and I'm just gonna keep it right on the edge. I don't want to bring it in and have a very distressed edge. So I will do the majority of this off camera because it's not very exciting to watch. It took me a while to get everything stuck down on my pages, all the little circles, kind of figure out how I wanted my photos to go on. I popped up my preschool title here. So this is up on Dimensionals. Everything else is flat. My photos are stuck down. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do up here and down here, but this part is stuck down, just waiting for my journaling. I really want to wait until I have some time to sit and think about and probably summarize my thoughts on preschool this year. I have only so much space to put my journaling. It looks like a lot, but I know as soon as I start rambling, it's not going to be a lot. So I kind of want to touch on like the things that she improved on this year, and also what the experience was like, kind of having more of a teaching role with her. And I think overall we both enjoyed it, but we definitely did have some struggles along the way too. Now, one more piece that I want to add in here, I left room for the year. So 2024 to 25, and I want to put that right above my photo. Now, if you see here, I have this on washi tape. So what I like to do is use my grid mat to line up my letters. I even use my tweezers to move them around. And then I put a piece of washi tape over top to basically make it like a sticker. And then I can like try it out different places around my layout. If I'm not sure exactly on the placement, it's so much easier than trying to move every single little letter and get them straight and kind of get an idea if they're going to be the right size or not. Now, my picture is slightly tilted, so I was debating, should I put it straight to the page or follow the top of my photo mat? And I'm going to follow the top of my photo mat. I think that will look the best. With everything on here, what I do is I just take my glue. This is my Barely Art glue. It has a nice precision tip on it. And I'm just going to add a bunch of little dots. All right, so then there, everything has glue. I'm going to stand up over top of my page so that I can get it as straight as possible. And I'm going to let that sit for just a little bit to try and tack up. If I try and peel it off too fast, it's just going to pull the numbers up with it. But this is my favorite way to do little pieces like that, whether it's, you know, words that you're spelling, you have little die cut letters. It just makes it so much easier. I really like how that looks. Now I want to do a little bit more embellishing. I do have this set. There's a pair of scissors in there I think I want to stamp out. You're a Star is another one that I think I want to stamp out. And then maybe the paper airplane. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead, stamp a few of those, and then see where everything is going to land. I tried to keep it fairly simple and not go too overboard because I realize all these circles and stuff, it's fairly busy. I got lots of photos going on, lots of contrast with the black. So I tried not to go too crazy. I used that You're a Star, and then I hand cut out these two stars from the stamp set that comes with the album Retreat. This one's popped up, the other two are flat. I used one of the paper airplanes here. There's a bit of an awkward transition between these pieces, all three of these pieces. There's a bit of a weird gap there, so I just covered it up with that. And then we have our little piece over here. This saying I typed up on my computer and cut out with the More Messages dies. And then I have the little scissors here. And then I decided to stamp another one of these and put the Bravo, because I originally had the lighter yellow and the darker yellow sitting here trying to decide which one I wanted. And I was like, you know what? That would look really cool with the two. And now I'm at that place where I'm like, it's pretty much done, but I think I want to add a little bit of twinkle. And I was looking through my collection to see what I had for stars. Now Stampin' Up! Has some new star sequins that just came out. They're like shaker filler, and I haven't picked them up yet, but I do have these ones, the Gold Star Confetti from Close to My Heart. And since I'm doing some stash diving already today, I thought I would try these out. They are very tiny. I'm not sure how they compare to the new ones from Stampin' Up! I was thinking I might just try them and see how they look. A little something, a little extra twinkle. And then I'm going to grab my Take Your Pick tool with the little gummy sticky adhesive there that helps me pick up embellishments. And I'm going to grab my glue. And then I can go around and just add tiny little dots of glue to my page and stick all of these down exactly where I wanted them. Here is the completed layout. I decided to add some doodles around the edge of the white piece. It was just looking a little bit too bare, and hopefully you can see that little bit of twinkle from the star sequins. And there's all of the details. The ink blending, I love how this resist paper looks in the background. We got lots of stamping. It's not a super complicated page, but there are quite a few steps to it as far as getting the stamping done and the ink blending. I'm so happy with how this turned out, all the little details. And I do have flip flaps for my photos because I do want to fit more photos on this layout. But I am so happy with how this turned out. So if you've never seen how flip flaps work, you basically just stick your photos back to back. I like the white matting on mine, so I think what I'll probably do is whatever is the front photo, look at this one here, isn't that awesome? Whatever is going to be the front photo, I'm going to cut it down by 1/4 of an inch so that I can still have that white matte. But then the other ones, I think I'm just going to leave it full 3x4 because they're going to be hidden anyways. But these are basically like little pockets. So you tuck in your photos or extra journaling, whatever you have. Of course, this would be stuck down so that it's straight on there. And I do like to stick my two like photos together so that they're not shifting inside the pocket. And then you can attach it right to your page and then cut a slit in your page protector. But what I prefer to do is put my page into my page protector to put it in my album and then just adhere this on the outside. And that way, then you can just flip it up and you can stick several of these together. So you basically have like a little mini album on the outside of your page. You can stick them over your different size photos. I do have some 3x3 ones. So it just gives you flexibility to add more of your photos. If you're interested in getting the album retreat bundle while it's still available, go ahead and click the link that's down in the description box. And if you're ready for some more inspiration, check out this video here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.